In lesson 73, we're going to look at angle of elevation and angles of depression. And all these are is using the trigonometry that we've previously used of sine, cosine, and tangent. And what an angle of elevation and angle of depression is, it's basically just a shortcut wording where it's the angle formed between, if we're looking at angle of elevation, it's the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight to a point above. So imagine that there is a person here. Well, their line of sight is not going to be directly above them, but across. Think of it, really the basic definition to me is it's the hypotenuse and the horizontal. It's never the vertical. Angle of depression, notice it's between the horizontal and this hypotenuse. So if we have a line here, this is not an angle of depression. The reason why? Because it's between the hypotenuse and the vertical line. All right, so that is not anything. We don't have a word for that one. Same thing here. That is not a line, angle of elevation, because it's between the vertical and the hypotenuse. Has to be between the horizontal. So we're going to go ahead and skip to example 3 and put it into practice. It gives us this problem. It says you got these two different people, and you got your this is a building, and you got your window washer here, and it wants to know how far are person A and person B away from the person washing the windows. And it gives us all this information. Now, these right here would be known as angles of elevation. Both of them, because they're the angle between the hypotenuse and the horizontal. Each of them different triangles, but they're hypotenuse and the horizontal. So, if I isolated one triangle, let's say I was isolating the 40-degree triangle. We know that that's 40 degrees, and we need to find x. Well, what else do we know? We don't know the base, but we do actually know the height is 60. It said the height of the building was 60 feet. And if you remember sine, cosine, and tangent, that's all we need. We need one angle and one, well, we know this is 90. We need one angle and one side to be able to find whatever side length we need to find, or angle. So we're going to use our SOHCAHTOA and try to see which one we need to use to find x. Well, x in the triangle is the hypotenuse, because it's the opposite of the right angle. So we can automatically cross out TOA because there's no hypotenuse in it. These both have hypotenuse. Now from here, remember our starting point is always our angle. So if I'm saying sine of some sort of angle. So if I'm saying sine of 40, attached to the degree, that equals opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. If I said cosine of 40, and this is our starting point, we would say adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, we don't know what's adjacent to 40, but we do know what is opposite of 40. So we can plug in 60 for our opposite. So 60 over hypotenuse. I'm going to put an x there because that's what we're looking for. And then we can solve. We got to get x by itself. So I'm going to have to take multiple steps here. I'm going to multiply by x to get x over here. And so now I have x sine of 40. X times sine of 40 equals 60. Now how do I get x by itself? Got to do opposite of multiplication, so divide by sine of 40. Plug that in your calculator. And you would get roughly 93.34. 93.34 would be x. And that's really how you do it. We can go ahead and do y just real quick. Y is going to be the same thing. Only difference, we got 70 here, finding y. So now we're finding the distance from person B to person C. And so, notice the 60 is still at the opposite, so we are going to have to use cosine. Cosine of 70 equals, oh, I don't know why I said cosine. Psych. Using sine. Sine of 70 equals opposite 60 over hypotenuse y. This time I'll just kind of use cross multiplication. I can use cross multiplication as well. And you get y times sine of 70 equals 60. Or you can solve the way we did the last one. Divide by sine of 70. And when you do 60 divided by sine of 70, you would get roughly 63.85. So there's your two answers that you are looking for. And that's how you do angle of elevation and angle of depression. If you need a refresher on trigonometry, you need to go back and watch that lesson until you're actually able to do angle of elevation or depression.